to KLST Webinar on how Dickinson Wright, a global AMBA firm, implemented a secure and collaborative client extranet with KLST, NetDocuments, and NetDoc. My name is Helen Shiva, and I'm the Vice President of Digital Strategy KLST. It's my incredible honor to welcome our expert panelists today, starting with our featured speaker, Mr. Mike Goh. Mike is the Chief Operating Officer of Dickinson Wright and will be speaking on how this developed and launched within just a few weeks an innovative extranet platform for its key strategic clients. Also, it is my pleasure to introduce Mr. Fred Levesque. Fred is a product manager at NetDocuments and will be speaking on key NetDocuments DMS feature innovations related to external file sharing. Lastly, I'm excited to introduce Mr. Raghav Jeganathan. Raghav is the President and CEO of KL Software Technologies, or as our clients know as KLST. Raghav is also the founder of Clogging, Inc., our software subsidiary that develops NetDocshare product. Raghav will be speaking about some of the exciting new and upcoming innovations in NetDocshare, such as NetDocshare Sync, NetDocshare Save, and a lot more. Okay, so let's get started. Over to you, Mike.
Thanks, Helen. I'm going to give a brief overview of DW. We have 500 lawyers, 19 offices. We've been on a steady growth path since probably 2010. This particular initiative that we're talking about now, client extranets, is something that we dug into back in 2004. So generally speaking, I'm a recovering CIO. I was the CIO at Dickinson for 19 years, and I've been doing this chief operating officer job for probably a little over a year now. So back in 2004, we really wanted to find a way to collaborate at least a little bit, push out information to our clients remotely if we couldn't meet face-to-face. We had a lot of clients that were overseas, and it's kind of difficult and expensive. So we were, no mocking for anyone that's on this call, we were a Lotus Note shop in 2004. So they had a product called Quick Place, which was essentially a deal room. And the deal room worked just fine. It was functional. The clients liked it. We probably had maybe 100 active Quick Places back then. Over time, it wasn't enough, and we were trying to be more transparent with our clients. So in order to be more transparent, we were also a SharePoint shop internally with our collaboration within the walls of DW, and we wanted to find a way to push something outside a little further. Wanted to be able to show things like financial metrics, as an example. So in 2014, we worked with Next Law Partners, most of you who have been in the business a long time, Rob Ciccone and Bob Beach. We worked specifically with them to come up with a concept that we could push data to our clients overseas. So as an example, I mentioned financial metrics, sharing documents, which you could sort of do in the Quick Place. We would do more calendaring. We would do some basic docket data because our first essential extranet was specifically to IP. So, but we also we were a big security conscious firm. We're ISO certified. But in 2016, we implemented 2FA, two-factor authentication, so that we had some security around it. We built it out. This is important. We built it out with a lot of communication with the clients we targeted and the attorneys that were involved. It wasn't necessarily an IT push where we just pushed out a product with our consultants. There was a lot of meetings involved and targeted approach. So the client financial metrics and the two-factor in 2016 proved we got a lot of traction and a lot of good PR. We got PR from our clients. Our attorneys liked it. It was marketed internally. So it got a lot of use again for those 4 years. And over time, it became cumbersome to pump documents into our extranet in order to collaborate a little more. So we wanted more out of the entire process. again, we were, I hate to admit this again publicly, but we were a hummingbird DM shop. And that was woefully limiting in terms of us collaborating with clients. So last year, 2020, beginning of 2020, we had rolled out Net Documents, which was for us and this particular project a game changer. So in 2020, we took advantage of the NetDocs integration into our extranet. And what that did was it enabled us to right-click, share documents. It enabled us to do way more than we ever could do with, even back to our 2014 first generation of SharePoint. So with that, we ran into, everyone aware of the COVID pandemic. We had paired some staff. One of the people that did leave was our SharePoint person. So that put us in a pinch. After a couple of phone calls, I ended up with this guy named Ragav. You may know him. There's a really nice picture of him with a tie. We met with him about taking that particular implementation of Net Documents and pushing it out more. Our extranet was becoming a little tired. Talked to him about how we could improve some things. So it has gone gangbusters right now. So what I'll show you in a minute is sort of a specific IP focused extranet that we built with NetDoc Share, collab spaces, and the ability to take our entire docket for a client and make it completely searchable. We're a CPI shop, just for reference, if anybody's playing at home. And with all of that as a snapshot for a client, it has been huge for us. Our target was IP. We focused on IP to get it going. We do trademark, and we also are now focusing on real estate, some of our bigger clients in real estate. So anyway, that is sort of where we are right now. In the future, we hope to move it to Office 365. We've already been talking to Ragav about that process. I want to use more of a data lakes concept when we get there through Azure. So we're essentially pumping a bunch of data into the Azure data lake and then picking what we want as part of our SharePoint extranet, probably incorporating Teams. And we also, from a budgeting standpoint, we use Intap's pricing tool, and access to some of that data would also be advantageous for us in sort of our extranet of the future. So from 2021 and beyond, we're going to be really cool. But as of right now, we're just kind of cool. So let's see. All right. So this is a landing page, obviously demoed up. None of these people exist. I don't know any member in our firm called Aaliyah Pitts. But anyway, this is IP specific. The concepts around this are what we have in production. So what you're seeing right now is essentially a canned preview of what we are pushing into production. So as I mentioned before, in the upper right, we've got sort of a billing summary. And each one of those you can navigate, so you can, it evolves. So you click on the next one, it updates your context below and your graph below, your fee. So what this does is it lets the client know this is a direct pull from 3E, our billing system. So it's real time on a 24-hour basis. So it's real time up to 24 hours. But what it does have is the ability of the client to see, what they have billed us, or what we have billed them, what's still in the hopper. And one of the other hypothetical scenarios is going to be a budget cube. The budget cube will also say where we're on track or not. So from that perspective, that was a big want for our clients. In the search piece, the search is really powerful in this tool. And we've broken it down into particular areas that you would be searching on. So from an IP perspective, with our documents, you can do a keyword search on a documents. You can do keyword searches on, essentially any of the things that we have moved into this. So matter, if you want to search on a matter, something specific about a matter you're working on with a client, it takes 2 seconds to pull it up. A patent number, USPTO number, it takes 2 seconds to pull that stuff up. So from a client perspective, this, again, was all built based on client recommendations. It was also built on attorney recommendations. And I have a great team of people that are also working with us on that. So, our director of IP, it'll go to her head, so I don't want to mention her name, but she's terrific too. And the person who's replaced me as our chief information officer, we all collaborate on this with the attorney and the client. So the result is what you're seeing right here. On the left, you can navigate to everybody that's part of the team. This site is easy to set up on a one-off. There's customized filters based on the client, but it's easy to put in your attorney team. On the left, you have different parts of divisions that you can build as part of this. So it can be an entire structure of a company that we're doing work with. And based on what line of work you're doing, if they're doing fluid systems or delivery systems, that's specific to their business needs, we have it. So if you want to see what we've built for the fluid carrier group, you can. If you want to focus on budget matters, in the very near future, you can. So all of this, a client just logs into 2FA. It's easy to do. The NetDocs piece, there's one time you log into that, and then it's all part of the two-factor authentication going forward. So it's very, very simple to use from a client perspective. And it's way easier for us to manage now than it was years ago. Instead of us dumping documents, dumping docket data, it's simple. So in this next slide here, you see matters. So again, this is a docket summary of a client. CPI, for those of you who use CPI, it's not, very progressive in how it is built its tool out. It's a good tool to manage a docket, but that's really where it ends. So our ability to pull that data into this to give essentially just the client snapshot has been terrific. But this is essentially a summary of CPI data on a matter perspective in a client extranet. Okay, here's again. This is so within the matters, you can summarize documents. You can put the docket family data, external links to the USPTO, all again in a single matter snapshot. So if you're looking at a particular docket number like we have here, this is a summary of a docket data. All the documents associated with that docket are here. All the information around the family data is in here, as well as the external links. So this is a snapshot of the documents that we have. This is all pulled from NetDocuments. In the old days, we'd have had to do an upload on a nightly basis, and it was just painful. Now you can right click on a collab space and you're done. Documents are put in there, they're synced. It's that easy. Takes the folder structure. Again, the time savings that we've done in the matter of 6 months, again, I don't want to mention Ragav, it'll go to his head, but have really saved us a ton of time. And again, this is managed with 3 people. This, as an example, is the family data associated with that docket. Simple to use, easy to navigate, a summary of a client's portfolio with our firm. And then there's external links. This is what I mentioned. These are all things that are relevant to this particular docket matter, docket data. It's all part of as much as we can show for our clients on our docket stuff. Documents, again, you can do versioning. You can version documents. If you want to give a client access to one of these documents, so we want to share a document, typically our stand out of the gate is read-only. You could allow a client, based on privilege, through NetDocuments to download a document, mark it up, and if you want to upload it, you can version it, version 1 if you want to. So it's pretty much at your firm's control how you want to manage the documents back and forth when you're collaborating with a client. Like I said, out of the gate for us, we're read only. We don't go any further than that. But you can see the versions. You can go forward with that. Patent material. This is again, we're back into the patent side, and this is document specific that we probably filed with the USPTO. So this is actual docket filing data with the USPTO. So if you're a client, you can see everything the firm has done for you on the filing side from your patent matters. You can see any document associated with your business on that matter, all in the single site. Plus, again, too, as I mentioned before, all the finances. So again, from this standpoint, it's an invaluable tool. So in that next slide that you see, this is another little innovative thing that we had come up with for them. It's take this concept and apply it to essentially like a picture of a map of the world. In your patents, you have patents in France. So what you can do is you can click on it. You can click on a particular location to see what your patents are. In this scenario, on the patent chart, this is specific to the different lines of business. So if you want to see the patents for AB fuel, all you have to do is click on the pie graph. It pulls it up for you. In one of the ones that I'll mention that we're doing for trademark is specifically that United States or the world scenario. If you want to click on Brazil, what trademarks do you have in Brazil? It pulls them up. Map of the world, very easy to use. Here's a summary of those things. So from the patent side, it's again easy to manage because you're just clicking on, really what your target is. In this particular instance, AB fuel systems. So this one here too. This is one that we had just rolled out. So it's not your typical calendar. This actually pulls from events, actual events from the filing of those dockets. It pulls it. So this concept is brand new for us. What we had done in the past is manual dates, manual due dates, manual functions for meetings. This actually pulls it from the docket data that we have. So you're not having to manually key in anything. So when the client's looking at this, they can say, oh, these things are due on this time. We don't have to pull, we don't have to manually edit it. It's there. So from a client perspective too, this snapshot tells you exactly what's coming up. There's no guessing, there's no real error that can be associated with you manually keying in anything. So from a validation standpoint, this is terrific. And it also integrates to, sort of manual events like your meetings and lunch, you're on site. But anyway, you can manage your entire communication of a calendar. In this one scenario, which we just rolled out, and this has also been very well received. So I will let you know that the game changer for us was the NetDoc share. The NetDoc share made it so simple for us to manage the amount of documents that we have that we used to just upload on a nightly basis, which was just painful. So what you're taking a look at is essentially where we are to date. I mentioned before, we're looking at even integrating Teams after we move into Office 365. So this is going to continue to evolve at a higher rate of speed than it had over the past 5 years, because the technology is really becoming more advanced so that you can take advantage of some of the things and display data like you really couldn't in the past, where it was just basically, I'm uploading things, here's information. It's more of a collaborative experience than it's been in the past. So it's outstanding.
Thanks, Mike. So it's my pleasure to welcome and introduce Mr. Fred. Fred is the product manager at NetDocuments and will be speaking on key NetDocuments DMS feature innovations related to external file sharing. Now, over to you, Fred.
Thank you so much. So Mike did such a great job. He's made my life really easy just now, but essentially, I love seeing these kinds of innovations. I love working with partners like KLST. We've worked with them for a long time. And so seeing a more holistic approach to an extranet versus what we do well with collab spaces, which is to share documents and make sure that documents become collaborative through that external portal. Really seeing what our customers are doing with that piece and using our APIs and use our embedded UI to really drive home a more holistic solution is really great. And so I want to talk just really quickly about collab spaces, and then I'll talk about what else we're doing to enable these kinds of collaboration. Mike touched on this, but really about NetDocuments collab spaces is about sharing files as they are and inheriting these the security models and the information governance models you have in place already. And so it allows you to collaborate from a single pane of glass with your external parties, right? So you're in your workspaces, you're in your matters, you're working through them, and you're able to share those documents externally, collaborate with external users, and give the level of permissions that you want, right? So Mike and team have allowed only read-only access, which is great. It's one way to do it. Other people give ways of opening it in Office Online and really collaborating and co-authoring in real time. Some people allow only downloads, and some people just allow read-only, right? And so it's really up to the firm to decide what they want to do with those documents and how they're going to collaborate on those documents with external parties. Again, it's really important to talk about maintaining security, right? So files added to a collab space inherit the rules, the governance, and the retention policy set at the matter level in NetDocuments. So you don't have to worry about that at all, right? You set it once, you forget about it, and you're good to go with your collab spaces as well as your internal policies. And so because those are set at that level, what happens on, when that activity starts to happen, that collaboration back and forth, we'll monitor all of that current and past activity, and you'll get to see it. You'll get to see who has access to it, et cetera. So very simple pane of glass, and really simple to see the metrics around those documents as well, right? Another piece that we're really proud of is this, unlimited external users. And so, this kind of work is becoming more and more complex. There's sometimes internal parties and external parties, different external parties, outside counsel, et cetera, all working together on documents or budgeting, like we just saw with, IP matters, like we just saw with the Dickinson extranet. And so having that kind of complex workflow where you're allowed to invite unlimited users and collaborators and allow that kind of visibility with your external parties is becoming more and more helpful as technology gets faster, as technology changes. Just having that insight and having that control over your content becomes more and more important. And then probably the most important piece for today is that we have these open APIs, right, that allow for integrations and these kind of limitless partnerships like we're doing with KLST. And so we're very proud of that. We've nurtured a partner ecosystem of more than 400 partners that use our APIs or embed our UIs, et cetera. KLST has been one of our good friends through these processes, and they're really at the forefront of what's possible with SharePoint, with Microsoft Teams, et cetera, and really about enhancing, configuring, and customizing solutions for customers that make their lives easier, and then really take advantage of what's to offer in NetDocuments. So we're really proud to partner with them, and we're really happy to be here today. In the future, we're going to do a lot more about granularity with collab spaces. So being able to watermark documents or completely lock it down. We're looking at a software where you can't even take a screenshot of a document, so that, if you share something and you really want read-only access, you don't want anybody to print the page or anything like that, we're going to lock that down. And then we're going to try to open up the collab spaces to be a little bit more white labeled, so they don't look like NetDocuments collab spaces, but they look like the Dickinson Wright collab space, right? So they actually are tailored and feel a little bit more branded. So those are the big innovations we're doing. And then as far as Microsoft Teams, because Mike mentioned that briefly, we also want to be able to create a restricted view of collab spaces within a team. What that means is that we'll be able to create a tab within Microsoft Teams that external users and internal users will have access to, and we be able to see only that collab space in the Microsoft Teams ecosystem. So be on the lookout for that. And I'm sure KLST and us and NetDocShare will be working together on bringing that solution to market. So we're very excited about that. That's all I have for me. So I'm going to turn it over to the man of the hour, Raghav, to share a little bit more about KLST.
Thanks, Fred. Lastly, I'm excited to introduce Mr. Rahul Jeganathan. Rahul is the president and CEO of KL Software Technologies, or as our clients know as KLST. Rahul is also the founder of Clobot Inc., a software subsidiary that develops NetOxia product. Rahul will be speaking about some of the exciting new and upcoming innovations in NetOxia, such as NetOxia Sync, NetOxia Save, and a lot more. Let's get started. Over to you, Rahul.
All right, so thank you so much. I truly appreciate the amazing work my team did with our client Dickinson. I truly appreciate the opportunity Mike and team gave us to work with them. So thank you so much, and thank you so much for the amazing partnership we have with NetDocuments for almost 3 years now. We are incredibly proud ISV partner of NetDocuments. So my name is Jeganathan. As been mentioned a few times here, I'm the founder of KLST. We are an incredible bunch of people who are very passionate about technology, and we do some really cool stuff in NetDocs. And I'm going to show you some of the cool innovation we're driving for our customers with our product NetDocs Share. Let me get started here. So NetDocs Share, as you heard from Mike and also from Fred, we built NetDocs Share almost 2 years ago, working very, very closely with NetDocuments team. The goal here was to really ship an amazing experience for customers who heavily invest in SharePoint. So in law, in AM law, mid-sized law, doesn't matter, any law firm, SharePoint has been one of the key staple names for many, many years. A lot of law firms have built intranet sites on SharePoint, use it as a communication collaboration portal. Obviously, Dickinson Wright and many AM law firms use it as an extranet portal. Different versions of SharePoint, could be SharePoint 2013, 2016, 2019, or even SharePoint Online. And also many law firms today use SharePoint as an application delivery platform. So we decided to create an application, NetDocs Share, which basically deploys on top of SharePoint that lets you easily view and edit DMS content. In this example, you have the ability to kind of easily view NetDocuments content. Either you're on the intranet, which is an employee, or you're an extranet as a client. So the idea is to keep your document center, your DMS, your content, enterprise content, your firm content in DMS, and not create copies of the content in all these different sources. So before NetDocs Share, we saw firms creating duplicate copies of the content in SharePoint, in document libraries. They would copy over, the sync jobs will fail, and all sorts of stuff was going on. After we got involved, we said no more. We said no more copy sync, let's go live. Let's go live view all this content in NetDocs. Doesn't matter what content it is. It could be a cabinet, it could be a workspace, it could be a folder, a subfolder, a filter, or safe search, or a collapse space, as you saw with Dickinson Wright, how we surface collapse space content from NetDocs for that particular customer extranet. So we are incredibly proud of the software. You've already seen some applications of the software with our client Dickinson Wright. I want to talk to you guys about a few new add-ons we are launching in the market. I'm so excited. I believe that we're really pushing the limits in terms of integration, in terms of the APIs that NetDocuments offers. And some of these add-ons I'm going to announce today are simply incredible. Starting with what we call NetDocs Share Sync. So NetDocs Share Sync comes out in May for all our NetDocs Share enterprise customers. And what NetDocs Share Sync will do is basically, today with NetDocs Share, you can live view and edit NetDocuments content in SharePoint, in Teams, and in any web application. It's a universal app. With NetDocs Share Sync, we're extending that functionality to say, you know what, you can live view, but you can also synchronize your content sources in NetDocs with SharePoint. And we see a lot of use cases for this, specifically in Teams, specifically in Files tab. We see that in Files tab, as most of you would know, is really SharePoint. And there are a number of use cases our clients have been asking for in terms of having the ability to synchronize that Files tab back to a NetDocuments workspace or workspaces. Sync will let us do that. So Sync will let us synchronize any SharePoint source. Could be document library, it could be several document libraries across several sites and site collections into net documents, workspace, and folders and subfolders. But we didn't want to quite stop that. You can synchronize metadata from SharePoint into net documents, and you can synchronize metadata from net documents into SharePoint, including the ability to create metadata in SharePoint for columns that does not exist in SharePoint. So this is for users, customers who want to keep their content in SharePoint because it's just easy to search on, or the users like searching on the content in SharePoint. So synchronizing not just the documents, but also metadata between net documents and SharePoint is something that's coming out as part of NetDoctor Sync. Now, we didn't want to quite stop there. So NetDoctor Sync has an incredible roadmap where we've just finalized a roadmap just a couple of weeks ago where we are launching agents. We are launching agents for SharePoint, and we're also launching agents for a number of key file sharing software out there like Box and Windows Explorer, so you can easily synchronize those sources back to NetDocs and NetDocs back to that source. So that's NetDoctor Sync. Stay tuned. We're going to be launching this in May to all the NetDoctor Enterprise customers as well as a standalone app for anybody who's interested in synchronization between SharePoint and NetDocuments. So NetDoctor Save, I want to announce today, we went live just a couple of weeks ago with this, with all the enterprise customers got this. This is an incredibly powerful add-on we've shipped for SharePoint. What this lets you do is to keep your content in SharePoint, but at the same time save it back to NetDocuments. We also support an option to move that content from SharePoint to NetDocuments. And what move lets you do is basically move that content from SharePoint into NetDocuments while leaving behind a link in SharePoint to the document. So what this lets you do is basically search on the document by title in SharePoint so users don't get upset that, hey, where did my document go? But your document actually lives in NetDocs, which is where it should be. So with NetDoctor Save, with the move feature, you now have the ability to kind of have documents in SharePoint automatically saved to NetDocs, along with the ability to move it permanently to NetDocs while leaving behind a link in the SharePoint document library. And this is available today. We released it to all our enterprise customers, and it's available as an add-on for our standard customers. NetDoctor Search, we saw Mike talk about search, integrated search experience between SharePoint and NetDocuments, and how customers can really kind of leverage that functionality in terms of having a single source of kind of a result source where you can look at, in Dickinson Wright's case, patents and all the related documents for the patent all in one screen with the ability to search, refine, filter the content. And last but not the least, we've already released this in the market to all our enterprise customers. We call it NetDoctor Admin. Now, the customers who are familiar with NetDoctor know that you can manage practically any setting in NetDoctor in terms of connecting to a workspace in NetDocs, or connecting to a folder or a specific content source. And there is a number of settings we ship in terms of the document context menu that you can see in SharePoint, including the ability to kind of manage default metadata columns on the view that you see in SharePoint from NetDocs. With NetDoctor Admin, you can actually centrally manage it. So you can build centralized views that can define the default columns on a view in SharePoint or in Teams or in Web App. For example, you can say that, look, anytime you use the NetDoctor web part in SharePoint, or anytime you use a NetDoctor Teams app in the custom tab in a channel, you can say that these are the 5 columns I always want to show up, right? These are the contextual menu items I always want to show up on that contextual menu. Like, I don't want delete to show up, for example, right? We also should be ability to hide a logo in our product. So you can actually hide a logo, and you can push that as a global policy so that anywhere you use our app on SharePoint or Teams or .NET app, for example, we can just, the logo will just be gone because you do it all centrally here through the NetDoctor Admin app. We are incredibly excited. We announced it, we launched it just a couple of weeks ago to all the enterprise customers. We are seeing a lot of enterprise customers reach out to us. We'll be providing complimentary training to our customers on how you can enforce policies and have a consistent view across different platforms. It could be a NetDoctor Teams app, it could be a NetDoctor SharePoint app, or it could be a NetDoctor .NET or a Java app, for example, right? So that's the NetDocker admin. If you have any questions, feel free to seed questions here. I'm happy to answer them. And last but not the least, we ship a NetDocker Teams app. It offers one more choice in the Teams store for customers who are looking at a little bit more deeper integration with NetDocuments. NetDocuments ships an amazing app called ChatLink that comes as part of the ND Plan subscription. We also ship an app which we wanted our customers to experience the exact same experience they have in SharePoint and other platforms right in Teams. And with our Teams app, we ship a number of kind of deeper integrations in the NetDocuments, like this view you're seeing here, like a tree view and standard view and different sorts of views, including the ability to kind of control the different metadata columns that shows up in the view, and lots of features, so any customer is looking for a little bit more deeper integration in NetDocs, looking to add a tab to a specific safe search or filter or a folder in Workspace, you can now do that with NetDocker Teams app, right? So this is here to stay, and we also have an amazing integration with the AI product. We have a product called Clobot, which is a legal do-it-yourself chatbot builder platform, and we are integrating NetDocker into Clobot as part of a fall release. And what that's going to do is basically help you search, find, and literally check out, check in, and do a lot of different functions in NetDocs just by using your voice or text in Teams. So basically, we're looking at new ways of leveraging AI to help customers interact with the NetDocker Teams app, find the content they care about, use the content they care about right here in Teams. And last but not the least, we take security and compliance very seriously, and governance. So we're also shipping as part of a fall release on NetDocker Teams app a number of exciting features, including the ability to archive conversations in Teams into NetDocs. So you can have an entire conversation thread or one conversation. You can simply click on Save to NetDocs within that thread, and that entire conversation thread will be archived in NetDocuments for future reference. So that's NetDocker Teams. Now, if you're interested, obviously you can go to Google, search for NetDocuments Teams app or NetDocker Teams app, and will be one of the choices that will be presented on Google. You can do a free download today. So at this point, I'm going to pause for a second. I'm actually going to hand this my mic over to Mike, who, if you can please reflect on some of the key takeaways that our audience can kind of take home.
Thanks, Raghav. A lot of these things are the things that we did discuss during our overview of our site. So the collaboration of matter-related documents is important, and the simplicity, because none of us have this huge boatload of people that we can depend on to produce this. But so if you follow this methodology of going with the NetDocs share component, it makes it easy to manage it. So collaborating with the clients, obviously important. Visibility into their work, obviously very important. And the ease of use from a backend operations, very important also. Using it as a marketing platform, that is a big deal for us right now. We're using it on RFPs. We have sort of a base screenshot summary of what we're doing with SharePoint and our extranet as sort of an additional bonus. We don't charge for the service. We don't charge for building it. It's just part of the services that DW provides. Billing, communication, and transparency. It is beneficial for the clients to see where they're standing. We also, and we haven't had a problem with one client from an AR perspective. So that's important when everyone's business is around collections. The clients that we have in production are not AR issues. It's a simple notification on a 24-hour turnaround as to where you currently sit in terms of your fees. So that's important. This is another one that we're trying to get to, the clogging of clients' inbox with attachments. So a lot of those IP attachments are huge. Some of them we were sending FTP links built into Outlook inbox just because, I mean, everyone has sort of restrictions that you can send and receive. Putting this information here and just sending an email says updated. They can log in and take a look. Huge efficiency, resource specific. I mean, it'll save you storage costs. It'll save you the pain of an attorney saying, why can't I send this 40 megatasks? Not that attorneys would ever do that, but if they did, this is a way around it. I'm going to focus on the other two because they're important. These sites would not be successful without collaboration. So every one of the clients that we've built them for are very unique in how they manage their business. They're very unique in the requirements that they needed. And it wasn't just sort of a business line discussion. These are different clients in the exact same IP scope, wanted different things, wanted fewer communicate, didn't need to see the financials. That's an example. And the last one is the evolution of technology. So I had mentioned there really wasn't a lot of changes in our extranet adventure when we started it. So now it's evolving at a very rapid pace for us because the tools, some of the tools that Raghav has mentioned, are available. There's way more capability now. Teams is going to be, I think, a game changer as we continue to evolve this. The ability of the Azure data lakes to dump whatever data I need into that lake to point to however we want to build out our next site. What information, again, back to our communication discussion. Clients want different things. And if we can make it all available in a secure fashion, again, it's a big deal for us.
Thank you, Mike.
Thank you to our esteemed speaker panelists for your amazing insights. We noticed several questions posted during the session and we'll attempt to answer some of them next few minutes. Over to you, Mr. Raghav.
Okay, thank you, Helen. I think thanks to Mike and Fred, they're doing an incredible job answering all the questions. Thank you so much, guys. I appreciate it. So I see that we had around 16 odd questions. It's a great engaging audience. Thank you so much for being so engaging, audience. I know we have one question here. Okay, so it looks like Mike is responding to that. Mike, do you want to talk to that? I think it's addressed to you. Yeah.
Sure. So the question is, what is the cost? Since I don't charge this particular piece to a client. So there is a cost based on your enterprise agreement with Microsoft. So you got your SharePoint costs. If you have in-house skill, good for you because it's hard to find. We tended to turn that over every 2 years for the better offer. So there's that cost. The cost for Raghav's piece is a one-time cost, reasonable one-time cost. The additional incremental cost is going to be the NetDocs collab space external access cost. It's going to be dependent on your license. So I don't want to tell you what ours is because we're in a particular band. So there's the incremental cost on the collab space. There's the one-time cost for the tool, but take into consideration, once it's built, it just runs. That cost is way more efficient than having to upload documents to manage your docket every day and upload that information in a 24-hour cycle. We run scripts and this is pretty much automated for us now. Building a site really takes 2 hours now, beginning to end, other than the customization the client will want. So the costs are minimal. There's a one-time minimal cost for the NetDocs piece that Raghav was talking about, the NetDocs external license and the SharePoint license, and then you're good to go.
Thank you. I see a question from Judy here. Fred, do you want to take that? It's something that's related to net documents.
Sure, but so Mike touched on this, Judy, briefly, right? So you will have to authenticate. You can use your Fed ID and your Azure ID to authenticate into net documents. You don't actually have to have clients authenticate twice. You can use their Microsoft account to authenticate into collab spaces or into net documents entirely. So that's a great question, but yeah, that's what Mike and team are using as well. So they only have their clients authenticate once and then it works.
That's right. Yeah. So, so JD, thanks for asking the question. So yeah. So once you, just to repeat, once you're authenticated into Office 365 or Microsoft 365 or your local AD, NetDoc Share uses the WHR attribute, not to go too technical here. Basically, use a single sign-on that you configured with your Net Documents and Active Directory, and we leverage that. Which means that if you're logged into your Active Directory, Office 365, local on-premises, whatever this case might be, we detect that and we automatically will basically, fetch the content based on who you are. We won't be prompting you to log in. So we leverage that authentication setup that you already probably have in your firm, the single sign-on setup. There is a couple more questions here. Just to let you guys know that we'll continue to kind of answer couple more questions, but we will answer some of these questions and post it as a post kind of webinar material so everybody can read the Q&A. There's the next question here. Does authentication work between SharePoint Extranet, Net Documents, and NetDoc Share? I think that was just answered just briefly. So because we are leveraging a common authentication paradigm, if your SharePoint Extranet is on Office 365, Microsoft 365 we call today, you're probably leveraging Azure AD, DoorSync with your local Active Directory. So all you need to do is to be logged into that particular kind of AD tenant. If you're an internal user, or if you're an external user, there are a couple of options. We can certainly offer a few other solutions. For example, you have the Azure B2B, which is brand new. Microsoft released it recently, where you have the ability to invite your extranet users, your client users, as a contributor or a guest to your extranet. So in that way, they can avoid multiple logins. There's many ways to kind of skin this. And obviously, those users also have to be set up in the Net Documents class space for them to access the content through our NetDoc Share that part. So we'll dive into this a little bit deeper when we do our Q&A posting. And I see, okay, so those are the questions I see here. Oh, there's one more question from Peter. What is your high-level extranet creation process? And do you have any automated tools for adding external user accounts? Mike, do you want to take that briefly in terms of account provisioning for clients on the Dickinson Wright side?
Yeah, sure. So the tool that we have is one that we had built a long time ago that automates that process for us. So, boy, I would love to tell you there's a tool in the market that you can use, but ours was a customized tool so that we can automate based on a domain. Is typically how we do it right now. So I would love to give you the tool that we use, and I would be happy to do that, Peter, if you want to send an email. But it's something that we had built a long time ago.
Thank you. All right, so I'm punching the time here. So we will, as I said, we will collate all these questions and answers into a document, and including the recording of the session, and we will circulate it as a post-attendee material for you guys to read and have access to. On that note, thank you everyone for joining this webinar. Thank you, Mike, for taking this time and sharing your experience with Net Documents, NetDoc Share, and just building out a SharePoint client extranet. Thank you, Fred, for this amazing kind of insight into where Net Documents is heading with the class space and some of the external file sharing option that's coming soon. Thank you, everyone, for attending this webinar. Thank you, everyone. Have a great day. Thank you.
Thanks, all.
Take care, guys.
Have a good one.